Thanks for joining me here on Revive Reform Radio. This is Lloyd Grubb here, your host, as we do our live talk program covering current events on this year Thursday and looking at the topic fake people being deceived and disappointed by phony people or fake people. Welcome again. Let us talk. Let's pray. Our Father who art in heaven, I thank you for your word in this day. Pray, Lord, that you may be with us, dear Lord, and bless us as we go through this day, and may your grace continue to go with us for Christ's sake. Amen. So my topic here is fake people being deceived and disappointed by phony people or fake people. Just use two different words, not to repeat myself. And so this is what I will look at you here today as I continue my theme, which is why living an unreal life or a fairy tale life or living in fantasy land leads to great disappointment. And one of the reasons I think that it leads to so much disappointment is that this concept here that you have people who are fake themselves. They're acting. It's an act for them, life. And they are trying to fool others, but they're falling for the nonsense that others are doing to them. So hence my concept here of phony people or fake people being faked out by other fake people. And it leads to a lot of disappointment in this life, because if you live a life where you can't use discernment to understand who is real and who is fake, then you're going to have problems in this life. And so that's the thought here that I want to share with you. So this concept here of fake or phony people being faked out by fake and phony people. And so when you live in an unreal life, you tend to believe sometimes the hype of other people are living an unreal life. And so you're in fantasy land, and then there's big disappointment that comes your way. And the reason why this big disappointment comes because you're in a fantasy land. And if you're in fairy tale, you watch too much fairy tale, partake of so much fairy tale, it unstables the mind, and reality is bent, and you can't often discern what is true from what is false. And so fake people will fake you out. So what I'm going to teach you here, this concept of discernment. And I'm going to talk about this today with you. And so notice here, it leads to a lot of disappointment because this is fantasy land thinking. And fantasy people always have big disappointments. And I've noticed all this over the years. Hence why I'm here talking to you. Very important for you to be able to understand who's fake and who's real and how fake people behave. So a life filled with magical thinking, mythological creatures, enchantments, epic adventures, which is some people's life. They're always hunting after epic adventures, and they always get died, crippled up, and disabled and stuff like that because they do so much crazy things. And fanciful beings never end well. In 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 1, it says, "But there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be teachers among you, who privily shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that bought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction." So from long as you've been living to now, you see how it normally doesn't end well. It's delusional thinking and delusional teaching. And whether it be in church, in a secular world, when people believe some of the most crazy teachings, these damnable heresies, it doesn't end well because they have a skewed idea of what reality is, and they're being faked out and phony out by phony people with these phony teachings. And because they sound so great, just imagine somebody come to you and say, "You're the greatest person on earth. You're the ultimate power. You are evolved. You are greater than everybody else." It's complimenting. It will make you feel good. And so you want to believe in that because that's what fake teachers do. As they call them, con men, because they're confidence man. They win your confidence with high talk and all that up a I can't even say it. And they give you all this evil talk, and so you believe it. You believe, oh man, it's gonna be great, and all that's gonna happen is that you're gonna be faked out, and then you're gonna lose. So this is the process that we have to deal with. So in the past they happened, and now it happens. People tend to not believe these things that in the Bible, because the Bible talk about false prophets. But that same person will walk around and say, "Oh, I believe that I evolve," and you're looking at them, you're like, "Evolve to what? You're devolving." But people believe these things, and it just brings swift destruction, because why? Because it's nonsense. And that's what it is. So so in the secular world, in the religious world, oh wow, the amount of false teachings and craziness and just stuff they listen to people, they sound unbalanced. And so because of that, they're believing in fake people and hype. Anybody that hype, they believe in. But notice here, and many shall follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of. So when you're following false teachings, the way of truth shall be evil spoken of. Why? Because it's a clash. Reality is bent. If you're in fantasy land and you can't realize what is fantasy, those who are preaching truth is going to be your enemy, because you're going to see them as in error. So just imagine you go to a scientist, as they call them, and you say to them that, listen, there's no such thing as evolution. They think you're from you're from some type of cave or some jungle or something. Like, you stupid. And that's what it is. If you tell somebody herbs are for the healing of the nation, they like laugh at you like you're a dummy, and they don't swallow in their chemicals. So this is the mindset that we live amongst. And so people believe in their damnable heresies, and it's just they don't stop dropping off cancers and all kind of weird diseases. But you can't talk to them because they're bright. And so, but the way of truth shall be evil spoken of, because you can't talk truth to them. And it's the same thing when in the church and you have people believe in all kind of strange doctrines and beliefs, and you can't talk to them, especially when they're flying high because they think they found the truth, and you can't talk to them because they have an opium in their head, and the opium is the false doctrine. So notice here, and through covetousness they shall feign, through covetousness shall they with feigned words. So the words you're speaking, it sounds so great. It sounds so cute. Feigned words make merchandise of you. So the aim is to have you like a fool and empty not your pocket. And that's happening especially in the prosperity gospel churches, but it happen in secular society. People believe these things, and they put billions and billions of dollars into these experiments because they're going to genetically engineer a superhuman. it's clown shows, and you watch them with billions and billions of dollars, and they're going to chimerically fix us by splicing and dicing genes and mutations. And the food is better now. Think about it. The food that we eat now is better, they think, because they can genetically engineer the food. This is the madness. Billions and billions of dollars. And what is the result of these false prophets? Nothing. And that's our current events. And the people looking sicker and looking weirder and sounding weirder because they're having glitch, because they're getting all these genetic engineered matter in themselves. And they're looking stranger and stranger and sounding stranger, imbalance. And so it ends in destruction. So they shall make merchandise of you, whose judgment now of a long time lingereth not, and their damnation slumbereth not. So you can see it. You don't have to wait too long. Something you have to wait a little bit. You have to get it, run its course. But you can see it. The people are just, literally dropping like flies. But they believe. So notice here, for if God spared not the angel that sinned, but cast them down to hell and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment. So he's saying, well, if he spared not them, how you think it's going to be for the people who believe these things? Those that we say hate God and constantly talk against Bible and talk against God, even the ones in the church. If God didn't spare the angels who were in heaven with him, how do you think he's going to deal with them? He didn't spare Adam and Eve. He kicked them out of the garden. Notice here, and he spared not the whole world, but saved Noah, the eighth person, a preacher of righteousness, not a preacher of some doctrine. He wasn't doing doctrinity. He was doing righteousness, right doing. Bringing in flood upon the world of the ungodly. So this is what happened in Noah time. And so we can rest assured that it will happen in our time, that there will be swift destruction and punishment for those who hate God. And turn the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, the Sodomites, into ashes and condemn with an overthrow, making them an ensample unto those that after should live ungodly. So it's righteousness or godliness. Everything else is just a bunch of talk and confidence, man. So in this life, it's important for us to not be faked out by fake people. People, they have an act, and it's just one big old show, and there's nothing there. It's just empty suits and empty shells. In Romans chapter 1, verse 18 through 20, it says, "For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness, because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God had showed it unto them." So they know better. "For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse." In other words, right and wrong, God has built things that we experience and we know. And what we know, it testifies of his eternal power and God, and it testifies that a person is without excuse. So there are things that you will notice in life where you will say, okay, like you come to learn that everybody has a conscience and people's conscience bother them. But somebody say, why does evolution, who create people to evolve and to survive, the fittest survive? In other words, the strongest people destroy the weakest people. Why does people's conscience bother them when they do this? Because God has manifest in them that they have no excuse, that what they're doing is wrong. But yet, humanity on the sin always go after the weak. And then God will give them swift destruction and wrath upon the evildoers. But oftentimes, because of the mercy of God, He will linger a little bit, so to speak. He hold on until the swift destruction comes. So we have to notice that it is manifest in them and they know that they're doing. And you know, this text is the famous Romans chapter 1 that deals with homosexuality. That means this is the LGBTQIA plus text. I think the other text is found in Leviticus 18 in the Bible, and it primarily focusing on this type of behavior, the lesbian, the transvestite, the homosexual behaviors and stuff. So we see this, but it's testified that when men are doing their wickedness, their conscience tell them that what they're doing is evil. You can't see it on their face. So I don't know if you've watched TV. Sometimes you've seen interviews with people trying to justify just evil, and what they're saying is betrayed by how they look on their face. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. They know they're wicked, and what they're saying is opposite. It betrays the look on their face. You look at their face, you're thinking, man, they're guilty of sin. But what they're saying is they're just word salads. They're just saying stuff that people now, fake people, will listen to what they're saying and say, oh, this is, I believe what he's saying. Because they're fake as ever themselves, and they're being faked out by fake people. But if you have discernment and you listen closely to what the person's saying, the words also, if you're discerning and you're paying attention, match their face. You just have to listen a little bit closer. So what they're saying is fooling simpletons. But if you listen closely and try to parse what they're saying, you realize what he's saying don't make no sense. It's word salad. He's just saying a bunch of hogwash. And his life and testimony contradicts what he's saying. But then also the face testify that this person is having a hard time lying like that. And there's some people, they're sociopaths. So they just lie and you can't even tell by their face. They're just sick in the head. So that's what it is, a mental illness. But a lot of people, they have a conscience. So in them is manifest that what they're doing is wrong. So I want to read to you this article here. I've done this in a while. So this is an article that is found in New Jersey 101. It's a radio station, local radio station here. And my wife has shared this article with me, so I want to share it with you here. So this just testified to what's happening in the world, and what you see that there's always God manifests in them that there is a problem. So I'll just read. I don't know if I read the whole thing. I'll take part of it. So this article is dated yesterday, written by, what is the person called? Dino Flamia. That's interesting. So notice here, it says, painful new fungal infection spread in New York City could come to New Jersey. So it's not anything too big yet, but it's a fungal infection and is spread through sexual transmitted ringworm. Is emerging in the US, but the article will go on to say it's over in France already. So this fungal now, a fungus that can cause lesions and take months to treat is a focus of a warning from the Center of Disease Control and Prevention following the discovery of cases in the United States. The first case of emerging fungus, and it's a fungus that's similar to jock itch. So it's the Trichophyton metagrophyte genotype V2 or 7. So this is similar to jock itch, but it's more problematic. So it is the same family, in other words. So it was, just in case you want to know what it is jock itch, basically. I've heard about that years ago. So it was officially reported in June 2024, according to the Center for Disease and Control, CDC. So I guess they're going to get rid of that also. But health professionals are aware of at least 4 other cases in New York City, which were diagnosed between April and July. The concerning infection can be spread through sex, according to officials. Ringworm occur on the face, butt, and genitals of affected individuals, according to officials. Some patients experience inflamed, painful, and persistent lesions that can lead to scarring and secondary bacterial infections, CDC wrote. Unlike other dermatophyte infections affecting the groin, e.g., jock itch, this one, TMVII, may affect the shaft of the penis and usually fails to clear with topical antifungal regime. Who is at risk? The current health scare appears to be an issue among men who have sex with other men. According to officials, this new infection have been reported among the demographics in France since 2021 and previously in men who traveled to Southeast Asia for sex tourism. That's not sexism, but sex, whatever they call it, sex tourism. The first U.S. Case involved a man who traveled to several countries in Europe. So this time they're not getting it from Africa, they're getting it from Europe. And had sex contact with multiple men while traveling, according to the CDC. He presents with genital lesion. The 4 cases in New York City are all men between 30 and 39 who reported recent sex contacts with other men, according to the CDC. One of the patients was a sex worker. So he does anal sex and other sex for money. According to the CDC, the patients were screened for other sexual transmitted infection and the results were negative. Treatment now, the sexual transmitted ringworm might require prolonged treatment according to the professionals. An oral drug, terbinafine, is considered the first line of the option for CDC. Patients might require antifungal therapy for up to 3 months. The therapy needs to continue until lesions are fully resolved, but officials say antifungal alone is not doing the trick and do not do the trick. All right. So we stop there. So this is a fungal infection that affects the groin, the buttocks, and then the face. Because if I guess you take something and put it in the buttocks and then put it in somebody's face, probably will spread the infection to the face. So this is what's happening. So obviously, this type of behavior where you take mixing sperm, as I say, which is a live organism, and you mix sperm and then sperm and feces is a it's a petri dish for bad stuff to happen. And so the testimony that one could say, as Paul says here in Romans, that it's manifested in them that what they're doing is wrong. And but it's fake people doing fake stuff and doing sinful stuff, but acting like you say, who are the happiest people on the planet? And you would say it's the fake people. It's the LGBTIK whatever plus people. But if you look at it, you realize that these are people that have high rates of suicide, and what they're doing, as I say, mixing sperm and feces is not good. And it's not only a stinking, terrible thing that they do, but it spread out infection. I think a year ago or 2 years ago, it was outbreak of monkeypox, again in the anuses. And then it's just AIDS. It's just a constant thing that what Paul is saying here is that, I'll read it again for you, that the Lord testified to them. They know it inside of their body that what they're doing is not happy. There's nothing happy about that type of behavior. Men acting like women, acting more female than female. But you see, somebody will say, there's freedom. And sure, that's what sin is, right? Freedom to do what you're going to do. And, they like to go to South Asia, go to Philippines, those places, and Indonesia, and sodomize each other. But the testimony is always constant outbreak of new diseases, because anus is an exit point, not an entry point. And yet it shows that they're going against nature. And when you go against nature, bad things happen. And yet people have to be free. But yet the Bible tells us that because of that freedom, you can go against nature and go against your conscience and then tell yourself that you're happy because what you're doing is the happiest thing on earth. But it doesn't mean that it's going to end well. And this is what we see going on. Obviously, I don't think anybody in that lifestyle will listen to me anyhow. So I'm just talking to you, the conversation here. So I read Romans chapter 1 again, verse 18, before I go to the main thing I came here for, which is about fake people faking out people. Because, see, when people doing all these crazy stuff, they act fake. And you have to be able to recognize when somebody is too much confidence, too much hype. There's covering a lot of AIDS and monkeypox and whatever this TMVI is, this jockage, which they say is worse than regular jockage. In Romans chapter 1, verse 18 through 20, it says, "For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness." Because now they know what is right, but they hold it, but they're doing unrighteously. But God revealed the wrath against these unrighteous behavior. And God is revealed to them, so they know that's not right. As I say, you have to have a lot of baby oil because it's dry back there. It's not made for sex. But you see, they have to lube up themselves and all kind of stuff like that. So they know this ain't right. How is that right? Because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has showed it unto them. They know better. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen. So there's things that you can't see, but you can clearly see. Somebody said, "Lloyd, what do you mean?" Remember, faith is built upon evidence, substance and evidence. So somebody say, so I have to believe what I can't see by what I see. Yes, that's what Paul tells us in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. Faith. See, the way most people teach faith, they teach faith as if you just have to believe. Well, no. God says, "Taste and see that I am good." Somebody said, "But I can't see God," but you can see the evidence of God. I'm talking to you here, and you could be listening to me on a cell phone. You can't hear me on the cell phone, but you can see my voice coming through the cell phone, so to speak. It's being transmitted on the air. But somebody say, "I don't believe it because I can't see it." But can you experience it? Yeah. Can you hear me? For those of you this morning listening to me on a cell phone. Yeah, you can hear me. So you go by the evidence and say, well, I guess the principle work, right? Because you see it. So Bible tells us that man created in the image of God, and in the image of God created both male and female. Somebody say, well, what if a man, because almost all homosexual relationship, there's somebody acting, they're fake as ever, as a female, and someone acting as a male. Okay. But what were they born as?
oh no, they're going to fake everybody out and they're going to tell you we're happy. But no, it's clearly seen that from the creation of God, there's a man and there's a woman. And by what I evidence in the design, it tells me that from this design, pure, you don't have to even think about it much. You can say, oh yeah, I see there seem to be two people, man and woman, and there seem to be a puzzle. And the puzzle works. This is simplistic logical thinking, nothing deep here. So it's manifest in them what is the proper order. But they're going to tell us that they're going to break the order and then go act to fake people out. Oh, no, I'm a guy. You're not a guy. Oh, no, I'm a female. You're not female. You're acting. This is fake. But it's not what I'm here for. So I'm going to keep going. And notice here, because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has showed it unto them. Notice now, Paul talking here, which wrote, we understand, we believe Hebrews chapter 1. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen. Somebody say, Lord, how do you mean clearly seen? Well, you can't contradict it. It's clearly seen. It's a puzzle. Being understood by the things that are made, even is eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without an excuse. So somebody say, okay, Lord, but there's a physical, so about the spiritual, or what we call the intellectual and so forth, or character. Sure, a female is always going to be a female in character. Somebody said, yeah, but I'm known guys, they fake being a female. Yeah, if you're fake yourself, but if you understand a female is a female by character and behavior, not just, the sound of the voice and all that. You can, I guess, mimic that and take hormones and kill that rumbling in the voice. Sure. But if you understand the character of a female, it's totally diametrically different from the character of a male. A male and female character is different in personality and behavior and thinking. It's totally different. It's amazing. So somebody will say, oh no, it's just physical. It's not physical only. It's spiritual also. Spiritual means that what is not physical. That what you can experience, but you can't touch, because you can't touch character. It's not an animate object that you can touch, or it's not a person you can touch. You're touching the character, the personality, the cadence, the thoughts, the way the person think. Those things are amazing. That is a part of the creation that we don't understand. Why people just behave a certain way and think a certain way, and you say, okay, that's a male. And somebody say, oh no, that's a female. No, that's a male. It's a male by character. It might act like a female, but it's a male. I know a male when I see one. And when I not see it, but when I hear it and deal with it, I'm like, oh, that's a guy. That's a guy thinking, And then you say, yeah, I've seen persons aggressive, violent, think that way, talk that way, but they have a purse on and they're acting like a female. But when you realize, you're like, oh, that's a man. That's amazing. The God creation, what is invisible is clearly seen. And somebody said, Lord, it's clearly seen. The religion that I subscribe to is a religion of evidence and substance. And the evidence substance tell me, just like you're listening to me if you listen on my cell phone, there's no wire. I'm not talking through a wire. I'm talking on the air. Now you can't see the transmission, but you can experience it. It's the same thing with the character. Character, you can experience it, but you can't see it, so to speak. You can't touch it, but it's there. I move on. So the word discernment, which is really what I'm talking about here. So introduce you to this word discernment, because the Spirit of the Lord is the Spirit of wisdom and knowledge and quick understanding. All of that is really, you can summarize it with this word discernment. So the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. When Christ said the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, Solomon was given discernment. All the righteous are always given discernment. You have to be able to discern. So what is the word discernment? So here we are, discernment, because this is what I'm talking about. Because somebody said, Lord, how can you say somebody faking? A female might, but I don't think can fake me out. I don't care how much she acts like a guy. So what am I talking about? And this is not what I came here, just the article sent me kind of here. So I decided to deal with this article. As I said, be aware of what you're doing out there, because there's some terrible drug-resistant diseases going on, and you don't want to get hit with one of the diseases. So, there's some guys out there that swing both ways. They're bisexuals, and they could take that type of disease and then bring it to female, and now you have an outbreak amongst female. This is what's going on. But now, at least now, it's with the homosexuals. But be aware of what you're doing. That's why we don't believe in fornication. You have one wife. you drink from your own cistern or your own cistern. So in Romans, I'm no, sorry, before I go to John, in the word discernment now. So discernment is the ability to make a smart judgment about something. So that's what discernment is. So I think 4 or 3 explanation. So we want to get triangulate on discernment. We want to be able to 3-dimensional understanding, because you need discernment, because people are fake and you don't want to be one of the people who are being faked out. So I'm going to teach you here. Use one text to teach you what discernment is. The other text did it, but because remember, our theme here is that we want to be not in fantasy land and being fooled by fantasy people who live in a fake life. So notice here, discernment is the ability to make a smart judgment about something. So we have to judge, right? People say, but Christ says judge. Christ said, don't judge by appearance. The Bible teaches us, don't judge by appearance. You know, you have to judge by, it might look a certain way, but you have to go deeper. So it's the same thing. If somebody fake, you can't just look at them and say, oh, I think they are what they are. You have to go deeper. So we want to take the evidence and we want to weigh the evidence. So we have to have evidence. As I say, I can't judge something that I don't know any information about, because that would be wrong. I can't come to a conclusion, in other words. So discernment is the ability to make smart. So smart means you're using your brain, right? Smart judgment about something. So you're looking at it, you say, I think this is it. All right. Next definition for judgment, for discernment, is the quality of being able to comprehend, what is obscure. So it's a quality of being able to comprehend what is obscure. Comprehend would mean you grasp, understand. Those are some of the words. What is obscure. But yet, that in itself it can be problematic, because something obscure it could be meant to obscure. Does that make sense? There's things that are obscure because we just don't know. There's things that are obscure in our life that are meant to be obscured. Somebody's intending to hide the fact, the truth, the light. And it's going to be obscure because it's intended to be obscure. Those are the more dangerous ones. So something can be obscure because I just can't see it. I can't see what's behind me because it's blocked. Behind me in the sense of forward me behind the screens that I'm looking at. So because it's blocked from my view, it's obscure. But normally, I remember when I was young, they'll give you a puzzle and they'll say the puzzle is A and B, figure out C. What they were teaching you, in essence, on a rudimentary way, they were teaching us to have discernment. You don't have all the evidence, but you have enough evidence to go on to come to a conclusion. What is C? Well, when you understand the Bible, true teaching of the Bible and true teaching of faith is that knowledge and understanding, and then you base a decision on. You get some knowledge, you understand the knowledge, and then you have to make a choice. Now you don't know what the decision is, because all decisions we make are future looking. In other words, we take the past, we take evidence, we take the current, and then we make a prognostication about what's going to happen tomorrow. And that's how you live your life. So faith, when we live by faith, what we're doing is we're making choices based upon past history, based upon what we currently see. And we say, I think this is the right answer. You make a choice. Does it make sense? Because life has patterns to it. As I talk about this concept of life oscillate. Life goes up and down. So when we're down, we want to make a choice. What happens when it's go up, and then we ride that wave. When it's up, we want to happen what happens when it goes down, so forth and so on. So discernment is a quality to comprehend, to understand the obscure. What is obscure? And the problem in this life is that there's things that are purposely obscured from us, so that we should not know what it is because somebody's trying to hide something. Again, discernment, the ability to tell things apart, to separate them, even when they appear to be very similar. Does that make sense? So you're looking at two people, you're saying, this is a man and this is a man. But one is not a man. This is how they'll do a puzzle. So when you're walking every day, you're being challenged on, did you learn anything when you were growing up? Because they taught you that you need to say, they always say, what's the odd one out? Have you ever done this multiple choice. They give you a peanut, an apple, a pear, a mango, and they say, what's the odd one out? Now, as adults, you say, obviously, it's the peanut. But then they give you a mango, an apple, a pear, and then they give you an eggplant. That now, they wouldn't probably do that to a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old. They do that to an older child. And the child's supposed to say, I think it's the eggplant, but all of them look like fruits. So what's the difference? You see, and then it gets more complicated. Now when you become an adult and you see two men standing there and they say, there's two men. What's the odd one? And because the surgeons is becoming more difficult to figure out, and the chemicals they have, which is a man and which is a woman. But there's two men standing in front of you. So basically, all his life is the same thing that they were teaching us when we were children, which is the odd one out. Does it make sense to you? So it's the same thing. When you listen to a person talking, I'm here talking to you, a preacher talking, a politician talking, they will say, in the secular world, they'll say, how do you know when a politician is lying? They say when he's moving his mouth. It's like, that's what it is. This person, I credit this person called, I can't remember what's his name, but all of a sudden I forget the name, but the person was saying, this guy says, we wouldn't need heaven if politicians deliver 10% of what they promise. So, you know, people, they just talk. Listen, I say whatever you want me to say and you can vote me in. Because the aim is to obscure. So discernment is the ability to separate, the ability to tell things apart, to separate them, even when they appear very similar. So as I say, eggplant, mango, orange, apple, they're all fruits, so to speak. But they're different. And if you don't have discernment, you could listen to me and say, Lloyd, I don't get it. And I've dealt with people very depressed, very suicidal, and they think they're suicidal because of whatever. And they don't realize it's because they have no discernment. They can't tell things apart. And so when people talk very hype and confidence, they bite and then they get bludgeoned. And then they're sad because they have all these people mourning stories. And you say, why are you always mourning? Oh, because I just, bad people always in my life. I'm like, you can't recognize bad people. And that same person will turn around and have good people in their life and treat them like dogs. And then sad that they have bad people in life. I'm like, you have no discernment. You don't know what a good or a bad person is. So you have to be able to tell, is this a good person or a bad person? Most people in here are false prophets. They can't tell. Because a true prophet is false to them and a false prophet is true to them. So they're going to have a bad time. The swift destruction, literally. Now, the last meaning for discernment is the ability to judge people and things well. So a person of discernment will be able to judge people and things well. If you go through this life and you can't know who is fake and who is for your best interest, life's going to be hard. And life is hard for people like that because it's a lot of silliness and stupidness. So discernment. So one of the ways that you understand discernment, what I've come to understand discernment, there's a lot of things I can say to you, but one of the ways, one of the biggest thing, what gives you discernment is this concept of a confidence person or a con man, somebody that is hyping too much hype, too much confidence, too much superlatives, or I can't even say that word. I keep wanting to say it and can't say it. I probably have to Google it. So I hear it, or it breaks down, but so I can read it instead. When people talking too much platitudes, too much big words, word salad, it just everything sounds great, it sounds good, we're gonna go to the moon, baby. You have to like, oh gosh, here we go, one of these con people. But you thinking that person is full of it. And then other people like eating it. And you'll be like, wow, they're gonna get beaten. So in this life, you have to be able to know this concept here. This is the concept. Too much big talk. The greatest this, the greatest that, everything is good. Oh, like, oh dear, this is going to be bad. It's going to turn out bad. But you realize most people buy that type of stuff because they have no discernment. They cannot judge between things well. They cannot separate things apart and see, no, that's this con man. That's a crazy person. John chapter 12, verse 1. John chapter 12, verse 1. So this story now is one of the stories that came to mind. There's many things come to mind, but it's one of the stories in the Bible that talks about a con man that fooled people up, or people like idiots. Christ was not fooled by Judas. Stories about Judas Iscariot. Christ was not fooled by him, but it seemed like he had the disciples tricked. Remember, the spirit of discernment is one of the spirit that we get when we have the spirit of the Lord upon us. And yet the churches that talk about the most spirit, they're the churches that are filled with con people. Because their spirit is confidence, big talk. Big talk. So the spirit of discernment is a very important spirit to have. And if you don't have that spirit, you will be whipped in this life. You will be bamboozled. You will suffer a lot. And it's important for you to have, it's right here, it's important for you to have the spirit of discernment. Because if you don't, as I say, this life will be hard. So I'll read for you this text here, and you'll see how important it is. So notice here, this text, John chapter 12, verse 1. Then Jesus, 6 days before the Passover, came to Bethany, where Lazarus was which had been dead, whom he raised from the dead. There they made him a supper, and Martha served, but Lazarus was one of them that sat at the table with him. Then took Mary a pound of ointment of spikenard, very costly, and anointed the feet of Jesus, and wiped his feet with her hair. And the house was filled with the odor of the ointment. So here Mary, who's doing the best work right here now, was Martha's servant doing her thing. Mary has the discernment to hear Christ and that Christ is going to die. His disciples are not getting it. She got it. Now, who's sitting on top of the hill? Who's the king of the hill in this situation? Other than Jesus. We put, Jesus is the king of the hill. But who is the king of the hill when it comes on to being aware of what's going on? You see, this life can be very strange because in your life you can think it's the con people. It's the people talking the big talk. But who God sees as the righteous is the meek, is those who sit back and pull back. So you have to go in the shadow and watch the wicked people surge forward, running down the world and just getting themselves bludgeoned. Love money, love power. But who winning? So it's something you have to pull back and watch them win. So here we have the situation. She anointed him. She seemed to be the only person to understand that. He's dead. He's a dead man. As I say, walking. And everybody didn't get it. Notice here, then said one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, son of Simon, which should betray him. Why was not this ointment sold for 300 pence and given to the poor? This he said, not that he cared for the poor, but because he was a thief, and had the bag, and bear what was put therein. So this is one of the things that I've learned over the years. Notice there, most people will be psyched out and faked out and phony out by this phony baloney, as they would say. This guy was a phony. But notice he's covering his phoniness with big talk. And that's one of the major ways you know a phony baloney. I don't know if that's a good word. Is that a bad word to say? Because baloney is this sausage, right? So this phony sausage, that's probably a better way to say it. And this is one of the ways you find these phony people or these fake people. They make so much big talk. They're so confident. And they sound like, think about it. Oh man, Judas loved the poor. But Judas was a thief. He didn't care for the poor. The money that was supposed to go to feed the poor and take care of the ministry was going in his pocket. He was stealing the money. But how he covers theft is he make this grandiose talk. Are you the people thinking, man, there's nobody more right? Think about it. Somebody more righteous than this phony, this fake. And this to me is one of the key ways how you find fake people. They're the most religious. They're the most aggressive against killing people for God. They're the most unmerciful. They're the people that are like most patriotic. To me, anytime I see people with too much of these flags, and they're the biggest patriot in the world, I'm like, man, they need to investigate that person. This person phony as ever. See, I see different, but the phony people fake out people. You show me a person that is the grand wizard. I'm thinking, I bet if you go back in history, I'd investigate any of these KKK grand wizard, you find that they were raping little boys and sodomizing them and raping little girls, and they're those wickedest people. But because think about it, the worst people in our society are the people who belong to the secret societies, but they're the people that you think are the most patriotic, the most protective of the country. Because of course, you would protect a country if every wickedness you do, you're covered and you can't face your criminality. So you're going to be the most patriot because, listen, who's going to love the country more? Like, think about it. Which countries have the most sodomites? It would be America, Philippines, and Israel, which are the most countries always involved in all the wickedness, especially Israel, America. But Israel, America is like top of the list, killing people all over the place. But you think about it, freedom, freedom, freedom. Like, you think about which is the country and people that always talk about democracy, the rule of vote, and everything where they go, democracy is spread. What they call it, non-whites die like in heaps. Just killing people all day long for democracy. But you look at it, you say, oh man, they want vote. They're against tyrants and dictators. And I'm like, are you serious? You really believe these people? They're fake as ever. And that's what it is. So fake people talk the biggest hype. Think about the people who are always, oh, we love the police and what, investigate them. They have dead bodies underneath their basement. Because that's what it is. You're like, I wonder what crime they're charged for. Why they say they're so pro-police. But normally this is how fake people do it. And most people listen to me, they'll be like, no, I don't believe what you say, Lloyd. I know, because they're probably fake too. That's just the thing. People are very silly. And the hype people always get them. Because they like a hype, because they think, oh yeah, we need to love the flag more. Let's get that flag and start kissing it and sodomize it. And that's what they do. But when you listen to them, even you can get caught up and say, man, this person is like legit. It's like, and because it sounds so great. It sounds so good. But who are the worst human beings on the planet? It's these people. See, Judas was the biggest hype man, but he was the one that's stealing, and he hate the poor. He didn't love the poor. Oh, yeah, we're going to do this. Just think about it. Oh, we're going to save the country. How are you going to save the country? We're going to dismantle. We're going to dismantle the whole government. This is amazing. This is what we're living through. And you think about it, you say, really? The one that is in power now, oh yeah, we for democracy and stuff like that, but we just bombing people to smithereens. We want to surround, because we believe in freedom, so we're going to embargo Russia. We're going to surround it with bombs, and we're going to point all kind of nuclear bombs in his face, ballistic missiles. And you'll be like, and you believe in freedom? Are you crazy? Why would you do that to a country? Oh yeah, because if anybody did that to you, you would be mad as ever. But these are the people that we deal with. And we live amongst that type of people. And you realize most of the people don't have discernment in our society and in any society. And they buy hype. They buy platitudes. They buy big talk. The bigger the talk, I mean, just think about it. If I say I want to run for the presidency and I'm going to be the best president, I'm going to be better than George Washington, better than Abraham Lincoln, better than FDR, better than anybody. The New Deal guys, Abraham Lincoln, FDR, right? I'm going to be the best. And people are like, oh yeah. And people believe that. If you sell people hype, that's why I try not to hype, because in my mind, I believe that hype, it's always the con people. And the Lord said we should be humble and meek. And so I realized, no, it's almost all 100% people who hype are Satanists. They're just terrible human beings. But they catch people all the time because they know most people I think are depressed and they live boring lives. So, when they think hype, they think, oh, that's our man right there. We're going to put him to lead us. I'm like, he's going to destroy you. I read it again for you. So who was the big cat or big person in this room other than Jesus? It was Mary. But who do people think as the biggest one is Judas? This life is crazy. You're thinking of people, the person who was loving Christ the more and would love the poor the more was Mary, Martha, and Lazarus, not Judas. But who would the world anoint and honor? It would be the wicked people. Judas would be the leader. He would be he's a natural leader. You think about it, people say, oh, he's a natural leader. Look how he sounds confident. Dummies. And this is what our life is. I shouldn't say that. But people are very foolish. You know, and you watch them, they're gonna get killed. It's gonna be bad. But this is the life we live. So we want to be able to face that. And so there's a lot of silly people in our society and in our society, and they follow hype man. So watch our hype man here again. I'm gonna read it again for you. Then said one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, son of Simon, which would betray him. This is the evildoer. Christ knew it because Christ said, this guy is the devil. But yet, his disciples were fooled by him. Disciples didn't have the discernment that Christ had. Why was not this ointment, I can imagine, why was not this ointment sold for 300 pence? Which should, 300 pence and given to the poor? Oh, think about that. This he said, not that he cared for the poor, but because he was a thief. He was a what? A thief. This guy was a thief. A thief? Talking so confident? But that's how they cover the thief. Oh, I'm a female. Really? You're a female? How are you female? Oh, I got the plastic surgeon hooked me up. Really? And you're more female than female. Oh, yeah, I'm the biggest female. You see, it's hype. You watch a person and they're female, and not even a female can touch them. My mom was saying, can't touch this. Right? Because the hype is hype. And you can't follow it because they're so feminine that females would have to learn from them. Think about it. Some of these females, quote unquote females, they teach females how to be females in the, say, modeling industry, model. The girls that walk around in, whatever clothing, different clothing, and they strut around. And these guys that are female, quote unquote female, they'll go to those female, which are some of the most feminine female on the planet, and teach them how to be female. This is the level of, you'll be like, amazing. They can teach female how to act like female. And there's female that are male, they're male, quote unquote male, that they're so hype that they make male, just a normal male, not a brutish male, but even a brutish male, they can teach a male how to be a man, how to act like a man. But when I'm around them, I'm like, that's not a man. That's a guy, that's a girl. And someone says, how you know it's a girl? And I'm like, oh, so you being hyped by the hype. Because when I talk to them, I deal with them, I say, oh, that's a female. And I've dealt with, LGBTQI plus, and I'm like, nah, he ain't fooling me. You're not a male, you're a female. There's a woman deep inside of there. I can see it. All right? But fake people will fake people out. Because if you're acting and someone else is acting, you buy their act. But as I say, some of the roughest guys you can meet are females. You'll be like, this is crazy. And some of the most feminine women you can meet are males. The act is unbelievable because the act had to be hype. Because in other words, when you're faking, or when fake people are faking, one of the tricks to get them is that they have to overdo it. You have to overshot it. Because they have to do it in such a way to bring your confidence that they're the genuine, they're authentic. And because they overshot it, it is so, the show is so great that even me have to stop my fingers and say, come off it, this is a show. This is an act. You're getting caught up into the act. And I'm like, man, that's a good act. And when you see an act like that, you have to pay attention because this is an amazing act. But so it is when you see a person getting that KKK flag, what they call the Union Jack. Or you see a person, they're so American that you're like, I'm impressed. I wish that person could go to whatever country and teach them how to be nationalistic. Because they're the most nationalistic people. And yet, it's a bloodbath they're doing. and they're killing their people. Because one thing you have to remember, the most nationalistic people are often the ones that do mass murders. And 90% of all mass murders are done by white males. And 90% of the people they kill, 97% of the people they kill are white. But you say, but don't they love their people? Why do they kill their people? But a lot of these people will be like, think about it, who in January 6th, 3 years ago or so, attacked their own country? It was the people who are there's their country. It's not your country or my country, it's their country. But you say they're the most patriotic, and they would attack the seat of government. And you say, wait a minute, they would attack their own country? Why would they do this? It's puzzling, but for me it's not puzzling because I understand fake. These people are destructive. But if they do that to their own country, what do you think they're doing to countries that they think are less people and they're animals? And these SHITO countries, they'll destroy it. But people abroad who don't understand fakeness will see them and say, oh, they're for democracy. They want us to have a government by the people and for the people. And they just eat them. And they're just getting destroyed. And they're deceived into thinking that these people are anything for anything to do with you have the right to rule. You'll never rule yourself. Many countries, even in our world today, that are free, they're not free. They're colonies. Colonies of Britain or France. They're not free. But you could be faked by this. So he had the money and he was robbing the poor. But he said, I'm for the poor. So you'll be like, man, that's impressive. You can imagine John, probably the revelator, John, the prophet that loved the Lord and is referred to as a love prophet. He probably like, man, I'm impressed. I'm not even that righteous. You know, you think about some of the most evil people in our church are the people who run the church and the people, oh, we have to defend the church and they're destroying the church. Think about under the leadership of the 3 leaders in our church because I don't belong to it, you know, for their church. Think about it. Under their leadership, they've almost disappeared all white people in North America from their church. They're like collectibles. And if they're not, then in India, most of them are old and geriatric, heading to the nursing home. But you go to them, oh, we love the church and we love our people. Yeah, but you're destroying them. And you're not preaching no truth to them. And the church is dying in North America. And it's silver-haired. And you're going to church, it's just a bunch of silver-haired people. But who love the church more? Who's looking out for God's church? Because God's church is going through, brother. And I'm like, okay, sure. Not with you. You guys are your terrible leadership. But you could not tell most people because they sound so confident and they'll kill you, especially young people. They destroy young people to save the church. You show me where that's not happening. You're a young person, they'll eat you to save the church. And so they come across, they fool people that they're for the church and for especially white America. But that's not true. They're fake. And they're faking out fake people because people have no discernment as what is up and what is down. Is the government for you because it's a government by the people and for the people? Really? You believe that? Then you fake too. You're deceived. Look at what's going on. Look at the homeless. Who's the homeless? Who's on the street? The drug epidemic. Where's the rehabs? Oh, but people say, oh yeah, but they love us. They're like, but what happened? All the money for war and famine and pestilence. I don't care who is in power. It's the same story. Pure death and destruction. So notice he had a bag. Then Jesus said, let her alone against the day of my burial. Had she kept this. For the poor, always you have with you, but me, not always. So notice Christ saying, you could do something for the poor if you want to. Stop faking. These people hate the poor. Everything they do is for against the poor. I don't care if it's Democrat or Republican. I don't care if it's religious. Think about the poorest areas in America are the Pentecostal areas, the Southern Bible Belt areas, the Southern Baptist Church. Those are the poorest here in America. We're for America. Really? They're fake people. Faking out fake people. Notice here, much people of the Jews, therefore, knew that he was there. And they came not for Jesus' sake, but that they might see Lazarus also, whom he had raised from the dead. But the chief priests consulted that they might put Lazarus also to death. So imagine, they say, well, Lazarus raised from the dead, we can't contradict that, so we have to kill Lazarus. Let's just make him die once and for all. See, they're wicked. But these were the people's leader. Who lead in the church? Who lead in the country? All right? But the people think, oh, they're for them. So if you're for the people, but you're not for these wicked people, and you're really for the people will believe that, say you're against them because they are fake by the fake leaders. Notice here, because that by reason of him, many of the Jews went away and believed on Jesus. So they say, we're going to kill Lazarus because Lazarus is a testimony that he is true. And we're going to kill him and Lazarus. So if you go to people now, and I say to the people, I think I'm for you more than your leaders, they'll say, oh no, you can't be for me. You don't even have the right jersey. Like, how are you going to be for me? You're a foreigner. I get you. Oh, the leaders of the church, they're for us. Really? They're for you? So you're confused also. You see, and that's what we're up against. You can't tell certain people that you're for them because they'll be like, no, you don't wear the right skin. You don't look the right way. You can't be for me. My leaders are for me. But I say, you're dying of all kind of stuff. Oh, no, I'm not dying. We're doing good. And they're going to save the country. This is amazing. So this is what we're dealing with. It's the gospel is, as I say, it's backward. Because who love the people, they hate. And who hate the people, they love. So it's not going to work out well. This is what we see going on in our society. Let us pray. Our Father who art in heaven, I thank you for your word. And the wisdom that you give us, the knowledge, the understanding, and the discernment by the Spirit, that we might be able to know what is right and choose the right and reject the good. Choose the right and reject the bad. May you be with us, dear Lord, that we might walk humbly before thee and that we might serve thee with all our hearts, mind, and soul. May you bless us, we pray for Christ's sake. Amen. Well, thanks for being with me here on Revive Reform Radio. Looking forward to talking to you again live. Tomorrow we should talk about religion. Until then, I pray that you may continue to walk with the King.